How we doing, folks? This is Jeff Hoagland coming to you not live, but pre-recorded with some YouTube exclusive content. So I'm currently in my hotel room at SCGCon, and there's a bunch of snow on the ground here, which in the south means that we are unable to go anywhere or do anything. So I am recording some decks offline because my mobile internet is good enough to play some Magic online, but it is not good enough to stream live to Twitch. So we're going to be kicking off here with some Grixis Delver. I'm hopefully going to be doing 3 or maybe even 4 leagues that I'm going to be uploading over the next day and a half, depending on how long the videos take to upload. So it says Grixis Delver. We played this a few times. One of the many deck lists you can find on my website. Has some parallels to Grixis Death Shadow. However, instead of hammering our life total, we've got Delver Secrets as our efficient threat, and then we've still got the same Delvey threat to the top end, but then this deck grinds a little bit better than something like, say, Grixis Shadow does, because we have access to both Snapcaster Mage and Young Pyromancer. So let's go ahead and hop on into our first match here. I would love to play first. Thank you for asking, Magic Online. Oh, this is my first chatless Magic Online experience, and I am excited. This thing looks pretty good, right? I get to have Delver into Young Pyromancer, possibly Delver into removal spells. My opponent's playing something particularly aggressive. Basic Schwamp. Alright. Delver says, I would love to reveal a Thought Scour. Thank you for asking, Magic Online. Get in for 3. Basic Swamp. So, this doesn't die in a blaze. I'm definitely supposed to fetch shock here because I want to make sure I have access to black mana. What's more important past that? I don't have any double color spells in my deck, which is nice for having good consistent mana. I think I want to hedge and have double blue here, so that way if I like draw another cantrip next turn, if I want to double cantrip with the Pyromancer, it leaves myself the option to do that. Two swamps, something like 8 rack maybe. I think it's pretty aggressive. 8 rack with no 1 mana discard spell is interesting. Just concedes the game. Alright. Huh. Not a ton to go on from that. I think I'm going to put them on some kind of more controlling deck, or maybe something like 8 rack. I'm going to bring in some like flexible cards and cut some of my more narrow removal spells, basically. So I'm still going to leave like Lightning Bolt in, and we'll leave Terminate in as a just in case. But I'm going to bring in Last Hope, Explosives. I think these Countersquall, I think there's a good chance they've got some amount of non-creature spells going on over there. Most decks in Modern have like some amount of targets for this card, right? So like it's not super narrow to bring it in. I think that seems like a fine hedge. Like I said, not really sure what the opponent's doing with Swamp. 8 rack is the thing that jumps to the forefront of my mind. It could also potentially be something like Black-Green Rock with an incredibly slow draw. I don't think my opponent mulliganed last game, right? Take a look here on the side. No, it doesn't look like it. Yeah, they kept. So I look at this hand, and I think this probably isn't good enough to keep. But the flip side is that if they are playing something that's discard-based, I don't really like mulliganing against discard-based decks, but I guess I only have 1 cantrip in this hand. If I had a second cantrip, I think I'd snap this off, but otherwise, let's just go ahead and take a trip. This is on the draw with a Scry, so I'm going to go ahead and keep it. And I would love to keep a second fetch land on top. Fetch land's great here. Helps enable fast Tasigur. Basic Swamp again. It could be some kind of brew as well. Let's see what we've got going on here. Another Basic Swamp. Still just nothing, eh? How do I want to build? How do I want to fetch my lands this game? I probably want to hedge Double Red here, since I have Double Bolt in my hand. I'm grab Blood Crypt to start. I'm supposed to grab Steam Vents to start just in case. So, like, since we don't have any, I guess I do actually, I boarded in Liliana the Last Hope, which kind of makes me want to hedge double black, since I boarded in a copy of that. I was going to say, I don't have any double color cards, but I do have this one in the sideboard. I'll go ahead and grab the other Watery Grave, just in case we pick her up. Playing these lightning bolts out super quick probably isn't a huge priority. Is it dead? Cast down. Whenever like mono black devotion, that could make sense. The deck that plays a bunch of swamps, right? They are 100% mono black devotion. All right, got it. So I'm gonna do this. So with Gerald's Messenger in play, I don't think I want to hammer my health total on these fetches too much. So I'm gonna go ahead and play Tasigur off this basic here. And I'm going to go ahead and leave Young Pyromancer in my graveyard, not only to potentially get back with a Tasigur activation, but also because we have copies of Kolaghan's Command in our deck. So how does my sideboarding change if I know they're playing mono black devotion? Probably not a whole lot. I guess I leave Dismember and Fatal Push in because of things like Phyrexian Obliterator. Seems to make sense. Yeah, this is a pretty easy block here. Just gonna go ahead and go to 11. I'd like to draw a red source next turn, so fetching the basic island punishing me a little bit here. Perfect. Never didn't have it. To go ahead and terminate this Dorko. Then we get to smash them for 4. And again, just looking to keep their threats clear while we pressure them. The fact that they attacked this in last turn means that, like, Grey Merchant isn't even that scary next turn because we just get to bolt this in response. Sort of Light and Shadow. That's actually kind of scary. So, in response to that one... Man, Kolaghan's Command is so good. Let's kill this one with fire. Then we've got Snap, Terminate, Snap, Bolt. We're attacking for 4. This game's actually kind of showing like the issue I had whenever we've played Black Devotion in the past. Like we played on stream a couple of times. You can find those in the YouTube archives. The average card quality in the Mono Black Devotion deck just like leaves a bit to be desired in my experience. Just like you're playing these cards that aren't quite modern power level individually, so you can like try and pull like these synergies together, and just like the sum of the parts like isn't quite strong enough in my experience. All right, so they're doing that. Does that mean I want to snap bolt this in response? So they're just dead, right? I just bolt them, snap, bolt them, attack for 6. So yeah, that's fine. Stop and count the lethals, chat. There's no chat. Who am I talking to when I say that? YouTube is scary. I'm just like sitting here and I'm gonna... Would you believe that I refer to groups of people when I'm out and about in real life as chat? This could go south for us if they have like a Disfigure or a Fatal Push, but they don't because we're a professional. So let's go ahead and move right along to the next one here. Quick 1-0 start with the old Grixis Delver. Go ahead and pull up OBS here and check my preview really quick. I am also working from one screen, and I think we look okay here. I don't think I'm blocking anything too critical. Hopefully we're not blocking anything too critical. This is my first time doing YouTube stuff, only my first time, a long time recording with one screen. I work with 3 screens on my primary rig at home. Remember, if you are enjoying this video on YouTube, be sure to smash that like button, ring that bell, and leave a comment below. Those help all those YouTube algorithms doing their thing. Alright, lost the die roll this time around. I think it's super reasonable. We've got a Fatal Push. They have a turn 1 Dork. We have a Spell Snare if they just have a 2-drop on 2. Spell Snare is just like one of the most tempo-defining cards in Magic's history. Just like, it's a card that always trades up on mana when it's castable, which is just like very potent. Goblin Guide, rude. I guess I have Collective Brutality in my opening hand, which is sweet. There's a Kolaghan's Command on top of our deck. Alright, so now this leaves the question, how do I want to sequence my... I don't want to sequence my stuff. I think I want to lead on the Bloodstained Mire here and plan to get a basic Swamp and Fatal push this, because even if they play Idle on this turn, I can just like untap and Collective Brutality. Spell Snare is actually an incredibly good card against Red White Burn, because they, in addition to Eidolon, they have Searing Blaze and Boros Charm and Lightning Helix in their deck, so they have just a ton of live targets. I'd really like to get a land here. The Thought Scour, not really into that one. Would like a third land so that way ideally I can fetch all basics this game and still have access to all of my colors. Push that Dorko off a cliff, please. No plays, good for me. Tassifish, huh? So, I think I'm just passing here. If I GM the Young Pyromancer, that gives him a really good target for Searing Blaze. I also like, if they don't give us anything to do with our mana this turn, that's like fine, because then I can fetch a Steam Vents tapped and like have all my colors and not have taken extra damage. There is appeal to just like getting the Pyromancer killed, because getting the Pyromancer killed puts a card in my graveyard so I can like Tasigur sooner, but I'm not in a huge rush, especially with this Collective Brutality. And ideally, I'd like to Brutality while I have an extra blue up, so that way I can Spell Snare Skullcrack. I have been spiked. So, would really like to just draw any land here. All of our lands are currently untapped, because we have a few fast lands, but those come into play untapped, obviously, when they're our third land. Get my Steam Vents. Even if we don't draw a land this turn, I'm probably going to go ahead and play... Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and play the Young Pyromancer. Because like I said, even if this dies, it like accelerates me in the Tasigur. We could theoretically die next turn. They could like end step Boros Charm us, untap like Bolt, but I think I'm just supposed to do this. It's possible I'm supposed to play a little scared. Yeah, we're probably dead. I have 3 cards and 3 lands, so yep. Yep. So worth noting they had the Skullcrack, so like I could have maybe like held the Spell Snare up, but like I'm not drawing a land for a while, which means that I'm really not going to have a lot of time to do much here. So bring in Dispel and Countersquall and Magma Spray. Get to cut these Dismembers. I'm just going to go ahead and cut these Kolaghan's commands. They're kind of slow and clunky. So Magma Spray is actually a card I didn't talk about when we were looking at the deck list initially. So Magma Spray is a card that I've added to the sideboard to hedge the Phoenix decks. And one of the reasons why I like that as a hedge for the Phoenix decks is that it's a card that's obviously very good against Phoenix explicitly, but Modern's a format where you can't play super narrow cards, right? So it's a card that's just like generically fine because it, what's the word that I'm searching for? It is good in matchups like this against Burn, where I just want like another efficient removal spell. It's a card that I board against something like Humans, and Affinity, and Hardened Scale, so it's good against Phoenix, but also comes in a lot of other places. So you saw me trim the Thought Scour there, and then think twice to go back to swap the opt-out. So the Thought Scour is actually more important than the ops in this deck, even though they provide less selection, because Thought Scour enables our Tasigurs and our Gurmag Anglers to come into play much, much faster. Because I'm bringing in more efficient removal here, I'm going to go ahead and trim a Terminate. Costs a little bit too much mana. So this next game here is hopefully supposed to be the easy game where we get to be on the play. Then we'll have another tough game where we're on the draw again. Yeah, this hand's fine. Like, not amazing, but fine. I'm going to go ahead and keep. I think my hand is constructed in such a way that I'm just going to go ahead and play a turn behind here. I'm going to put just Steam Vents into play, tapped and pass. Like, even if they have, like, running creatures to start here, or they have no creatures to start, well, that's good. And I played the Steam Vents here, so that way I can play the Blood Crypt tapped on turn 2, and then Magma Spray something if I want to Magma Spray something, but also Thought Scour if they don't give us a Magma Spray target still. Fatal Pushes, like, looking a little bit awkward here, but, like, at the same time, I'm going to get to just, like, bin the extras to this Collective Brutality, so it's, like, not really a big deal. If they play Idle on this turn, I'm probably going to Thought Scour myself and then untap and full Escalate Brutality to drain them. Because, like, I'm going to take a hit from this regardless. So might as well, like, draw my extra card now, so that way I know if I want to fetch a basic and play a Delve threat. Milled 2 good spells, drew a land. Thank you, Tilt Scour. It's just like Magic in a nutshell sometimes, right? I guess I get to upgrade. I think I'm going to keep the 4th land, but I am going to go ahead and ditch the 5th for sure here. So we're going to end up at 17, basically 16, 15 after all is said and done here. Ditch a land and a Fatal Push. Take a peekaboo at what's going on in their hand. Hopefully their hand involves more creatures. And, like, the way our hand is shaped up is a pretty kind of classic, like, oh, they have a risk factor, Vomit. This card was not good in Burn when we tested it, but it's going to be really good in this matchup for them, especially with how our hands lined up. This hand will be a very good example of, you know, you don't beat the combo decks by just, like, disrupting them. And Burn's a pseudo-combo deck to a degree. Just like it's a deck that demands answers. We can't just sit here and disrupt the Burn deck, because they're just going to draw more Burn spells. Especially when even their lands turn into more Burn spells. But we need pressure. We need a way to actually kill them. It's just not playing the Eidolon. Deal. So I'll grab a Watery Grave here. Alright. It's Dr. Peasy. I guess I'm going to do this so I can leave up Fatal Push and Magma Spray. Not that it really matters. It does suck that I don't have any proactive spells to play here. Like I can't Thought Scour, I can't Lightning Bolt. And they drew a Bolt. That's unfortunate. Do I just push my own thing here? Yeah, I think I'm gonna Fatal Push my Young Pyromancer here. And I'm gonna fetch off of this. Although, do I really need to do that? I was gonna say I want to be able to Kolaghan's command this back, so I don't want to Magma Spray it. But I've actually boarded my Kolaghan's commands out. Yeah, I think I'm pushing this. I'm just like turning this Fatal Push into a 1/1. Just like I know they're at 18 here, but I really just need to be attacking them. So their hand is Mountain Eidolon at the moment. So I'm basically at a virtual 4 from this and 2 from spraying the Eidolon. So I'm at like 9, so they need to draw 3 burn spells here. If they draw like more creatures, I could get punished for that aggressive use. Blech. Vomit. It's pretty good. Yep. Alright, well there's one of the 3 spells that they need to draw. So let's go ahead and do this. Really want to draw a Tasigur or Gurmag Angler here. Those are the cards we are looking for. They would allow us to put a clock on the opponent very quickly. Check out some of our options here. I'm going to bottom that. Like I said, just like want any threat. Land is kind of like a threat, right? So we're through 20 cards in our deck at this point, and we haven't milled over any Delve threats. We did mill a Snapcaster Mage. Even Snapcaster would be a really good draw at this point. We just like Snap Squall the risk factor. Alright, this land might come in handy if we draw a Snapcaster Mage. Collective Brutality. Yeah, I think I'm in the market for a game 2. There's like, we're basically at a number that's divisible by 3 at the moment because there's a 4 damage risk factor in their graveyard. So I think going up to 12 here, and then the Rift Bolt they suspended puts us to 9, and then the risk factor puts us to 5. So this is an additional burn spell that they need to draw by casting this here. So I assume we're going to see them jumpstart this risk factor at end of turn. I'm going to decline letting them draw 3 cards, believe it or not. I think their average draw 3, especially when we are empty-handed, is probably going to be like a creature plus a burn spell. Have risk factor deal 4 to you? Yes, please. So we're going to 5, And they're empty-handed. We're going to 5, but again, just like they're at 15 and I have no clock in play, so not a particularly good spot for us. Yay, magic! Yay! This is how a bunch of my standard games ended at the SCG Invitational on Friday. Just like, didn't have a lot of spells. Just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. Alright, did double. Come at me, Goblin Guide. There's a Young Pyromancer on top of my deck. That's exciting, except I'm dead and it has to trade for this Goblin Guide. I'm a digit. Alright, if their hand has lethal in it, they should have cast it in response to the Pyromancer. Again, it's unfortunate that, like, I have to trade this here, but it is what it is. And just, like, you know, 2/3 of their deck is lethal every draw step. Yeah, good game opponent. This is good sequencing on their part. Actually, it's bad sequencing. I lied. And the reason why this is bad sequencing, so we are dead. The correct sequence here is to attack with the Goblin Guide first to likely make me trade, because my last card in hand... I'll concede, so they don't have to wait. If the last card in my hand is a counterspell here, I then could counterspell the Boros Charm and make a Young Pyromancer token, whereas if they trade these here, they... I won't get to make the Pyromancer token if my last card is a counterspell. So I didn't have it there, so I died, but if I did have it, it's better off for my opponent to attack first to potentially see if I trade the Pyromancer off to deny me that token that I could be making there. Yeah, I don't think there was much we could do in that second game. I think there was a good chance I could have maybe been a little bit more aggressive in the first game and, like, gotten on the board and, like, maybe encouraged them to, like, spend some of their burn spells on my creatures. Like, by the time I had, like, fetch the shock land tapped and then, like, missed my third land, just, like, died with a bunch of cards in my hand. Yeah, that's how it goes. Sometimes you stumble, sometimes you flood. Well, I am doing the YouTube-only content stuff today because I'm currently stranded in a hotel room without the ability to stream. Let me know in the comments below for sure if this is a type of content that you enjoy. And maybe perhaps I will add some YouTube-only leagues or sets of games as something that I do with some consistency. Interested to see how it goes over. This is not something I've tried doing before. This hand's like, you know, the basic island Terminate hand is, like, not super exciting. Oh gosh, is it time to concede to a Bogle? It might be time to concede to a Bogle. It's totally... Oh, Utopia Sprawl. Deal in... They chose red, so probably Ponza. This is gonna be like, play my Delver, like, get Stone Rained off my only island. Welcome to Modern. Enjoy your stay. Could still be getting Stone Rained, but stop on my turn otherwise. Chose red again. Yay, magic! Woo! The good news is our opponent only has 2 cards in their hand, so, like, if their hand just, like, does Ponza things, which means their hand just, like, doesn't do anything, this Delver could just, like, flip and then run them over. That is actually just, like, the Stone Cold worst possible. It's, like, it's not a land to let us play Magic, and it's, like, not an instant or sorcery to let the Delver flip and raise. Just, like, massive tilt. Oh, sometimes they want it more than you, chat. Sometimes they want it more than you do, and that's okay. That's oh, magic is something sometimes. All right, so let's get rid of Dismember. Let's bring in these Countersqualls. Let's get rid of this Kolaghan's command. Disdainful Stroke's probably not terrible. They probably got, like, what's it called? Like, dragons on top of the Dais of Calamity or whatever that card was called. Yeah, Dais of Calamity. No need for Rejection or Dispel. Let's hope to be luckier here on the play. Fulminator Mage only kills non-basic lands, so it's not worth bringing that in against Utopia Sprawl, obviously. Most Ponza players are going to be putting their sprawls on basic lands because otherwise they'd fall off when they cast their Blood Moon. People often ask if we should bring in Engineered Explosives in this matchup. I don't think so. While it can kill their enchantments, it's like really slow. I wonder if these Spell Snares are worth keeping in. I'm like trying to think like what 2-mana spells Ponza plays. And you know, honestly, this card, Spell Snare, might be worse than the Kolaghan's commands that I just boarded out. Like from an efficiency standpoint, it's really appealing, but like there just aren't a lot of cards that it tags. Like this hand has access to all my basic lands, but just like doesn't do anything, right? And then, you know, this hand only has one land in it, so like I can't really realistically keep it. This hand's not good, but I'm gonna keep. It, like, can play magic. It just doesn't have a threat. I guess with the opt, if we find a threat, this hand's not terrible. It's just like soft to Blood Moon, soft to Stone Rain. Yep. So I'm gonna Fetch Shock a Steam Incident in a turn here, so I have all my colors covered, but I'm gonna get Blood Moon next turn and just be incredibly sad. I'm gonna bottom that for now. I guess maybe you could argue I should keep that just in case I like Thought Scour into a Gurmag Angler. Might be okay. So I'm playing the Polluted Delta out here because that way if my opponent casts Blood Moon this turn, I can fetch a basic island and then have basic island, basic swamp, and like be able to like kind of play magic should I draw spells. Opponents had double Sprawl 2 games in a row, which is definitely one of their more explosive starts. Trinisphere. Yeah, I don't really care about that one. That card's like theoretically very good against us. I have my one copy of Kolaghan's Command left in my deck in my hand right now, though, so, you know, God bless. Tassafish. Seems good for me. Yeah, I'm just gonna jam him. Fun fact, Delve is one of the only mechanics that beats Trinisphere when it comes to cost. If I had 5 cards in my graveyard, I could put Tasigur into play there by only tapping 1 land, because Delve is technically paying a cost. In general, the answer to all of your does X beat Trinisphere is always no. Wow, I'm glad we chose to Tasigur this turn instead of K-commanding, because that would, things would not have ended well for our hero had we K-commanded them there. Obstinate Baloth is incredibly difficult to race, though. I think I just have to pass here. It's worth noting that my opponent did not have any scary 5-mana plays there, because they did have the land, so if they had a scary 5-mana play, they would have played it. 4-5 confirmed larger than 4-4 of those, so that's nice. You just get to hang out. See if they have something obnoxious like a Chandra. It's not Torch of Defiance, the Flamecaller, 6-mana Chandra. Or like something like a Titan here. Yep, that's an Inferno Titan. So I assume we're going to see 1 to Tasigur, 2 to me, and then attack with the Baloth. I feel like their sequencing here is... I guess my sequencing, I wouldn't block if they attacked with the Baloth. You think they're supposed to, like, hit Tasigur for 1 and me for 2, and then attack with the Baloth and offer the trade? So I don't think I would take a trade in that situation. Alright, let's see if they have another Baloth to put into play here, or if this is okay. And then, like, we have one shot at a Terminate here. And we miss, so we're dead? Yep. Oh, playing interactive decks in Modern. It's, the trials and tribulations of trying to have your answers line up into what they're doing. And honestly, I feel like that's the reason why we've had such a hard time in these two matches that we've lost so far, is, like, this deck can be proactive, but, like, the draws we've had so far in this league have, like, put us into basically a more controlling role, and just, like, Grixis control is not a deck that's, like, exceptionally good in Modern, right? Like, the tools that you have access to in red, black, and blue are not A+. So hopefully we can have some draws here that, like, have a mix of disruption along with, like, delve creatures. Or, yeah, like, this hand's a great example of, like, a very reasonable hand, right? Like, we've got Dr. Peasy, we've got Tassifish, we got some removal spells. Hopefully this is a matchup where, like, Terminate and Fatal Push have text boxes, because that's, like, another problem this archetype and Grixis control can have, right? Like, our opponent could be playing something like, say, Ad Nauseam, where, like, these just, like, aren't magic cards in the matchup. Which makes, again, hoping your answers line up into whatever your opponent's doing, like, a little bit more guesswork. And that's really one of the appeals to the blue-red Delver Tempo deck, like I top-8'd the Open in SCG with earlier this year, is that deck, all of its main deck removal spells are like lightning bolts and burst lightnings and stuff like that can go to your opponent's face. So that way, when your opponent doesn't have creatures, you're not just like, you don't just have dead cards, you have cards that allow you to race a little bit. What you got? Basic Mountain. Yep. Is there any graveyard hate in this sideboard? Actual, factual, 0. I'm just going to play the 5th match and move along with my life here. 30. Let's head into match 5 of the league. The video is 31 minutes long. All right. Yep. Sounds like Modern. Yeah. So this deck and decks like it, you could put, like, 4 Leyline of the Voids in the sideboard and, like, hope to mulligan to them. But, like, the thing you have to think about is, when you run the math on, like, what your odds are of having your Leyline in your opener in both your postboard games, because you're such a dog game 1, that just, like, your chances of beating a deck like Dredge, even if you spend, like, 4 or 6 sideboard slots, are, like, incredibly low. Just because not only do you have to, like, have your sideboard card in your opening hand for it to be relevant, but there's also going to be a subset of games where you have your sideboard card and then don't have pressure, or you have your sideboard card and they have their Nature's Claim or their Assassin's Trophy to beat your sideboard cards. Just, like, the overlap of games where you, like, actually really get to play Magic and, like, have a chance are, like, really small. Fetch Shock, Watery Grave, Inquisition. So probably Shadow, if I had to venture a guess. So the key to playing burn spells against Shadow, assuming they're playing that, is that a lot of the time you want to wait to play your burn spells until they are at a point where they've done enough damage to themselves. So you want to make them do, like, the initial, 8 to 10, and then try and burn them out from there. Yep, so there goes our threat. The best laid plans are ruined by a grip full of discard spells. It's like not a whole lot you can do there. It's even the fair matchups in Modern tend to be a slog. This is why I've, like, moved on to, like, playing decks like, we're actually going to play Amulet Titan is the next deck I'm going to be recording with today. And decks like Amulet Titan and, Elves, that's the deck I've played at the SCG Invitational to 3 unfinished. I top 4 the local tournament last weekend. Just, like, doing something that's proactive and not interactive is just, like, really everywhere you want to be in life in this format. Interesting that they fetched the land tapped there. I guess they know we have double bolt in our hand, and maybe they just don't have a Death Shadow yet. This is telling us that they don't have an access to Stubborn Denial at the moment. I think I'm fetching a tapped land here. And then the reason to wait to fire off the lightning bolts here is because if I draw Young Pyromancer next turn, I get to make 2 tokens by firing off these bolts. Or alternatively, I can also draw a Terminate, which then just, like, kills this with only spending 1 card. We drew another land. It's been a tough weekend. It's been a tough weekend. Okie doke. I'll probably hold on to at least one of these other 2 lands here, so that way I can have something to escalate a Collective Brutality with. The Street Race basically confirmed the opponent is playing Shadow. Joke's on you, opponent. I don't draw spells. Look at us, generating that virtual card advantage, blanking that Inquisition. Ha ha. We're so good at this game. It's getting that free 1 for 0. Come at me, opponent. Come at me. If their hand is just, like, full of not threats, we could be okay here. Like, a Kolaghan's command just lets us bury our opponent. That being said, it's going to be, like, Shadow here, and we're going to die in a fire. Shadow Delve threat? Sure. It's, like, not quite Shadow, but it's very similar. Okie-doke. Hopefully the heater that's going over to my right isn't too terribly loud. Oh, magic. Oh, Magic the Gathering. Alright, so Collective Brutality is not stellar here. I actually don't have a ton of cards for this matchup. I think I want the EE for their shadows, obviously. Last Hope to grind a little bit, and then Dispel to counter the removal spells on occasion. I don't think I want these other things here. I feel like my main deck isn't terrible for this matchup. Like, I'm going to keep the Spell Snares in because the opponent's deck likely often plays some number of Snapcaster Mage, so that's worth killing, I think. I would love to play first, ideally. This hand's really good, right? It's got Thought Scour plus a Delve threat. And so I'm actually going to lead on the Polluted Delta here because this way, if they cast Inquisition on one, I can Thought Scour myself in response, and then Inquisition will put 1 card in my graveyard, Fetch Land will put 2, and then Thought Scour puts 3, which is a total of 5 cards in my bin, which lets me cast Gurmag Angler on 2. This also gives me the opportunity to draw a second Fetch Land, because 2 fetches plus Thought Scour cast Gurmag Angler on 2 as well. So, very, very correct to lead with the fetch here, give us the most possible chances to be able to put this Gurmag Angler into play on turn 2. Obviously, we have to grab Watery Grave, because it's only black source, and I need a blue to cast the Thought Scour this turn. Alright, that's like not the fetch land I was hoping for, but it's like an additional threat. It's arguably like better than a fetch land, right? Like it lets me just like have an additional threat. In my experience playing matchups like this is basically a Protect the Queen style matchup or a Kill All the Things matchup, depending on like how your hand lines up, where you basically just want to be the person to have the last threat that sticks. So just like drawing more threats is very ideal. This is a matchup where Kolaghan's command tends to be very good if we don't just get run out of the game by an aggressive draw from the opponent. Having Kolaghan's command to grind through is very potent. That is unfortunate for the home team here. Delver says, alright, you know, it's like, it's not a card that flips my thing over, but at the same time, I'm, like, pretty happy to have it. So, the question is, I think I want to keep the Snapcaster Mage in my bin here, because it makes my future Kolaghan's command draws better. I'm going to go ahead and shock this in here, so that way I can still have Spell Snare up this turn. I just clicked through my combat step by mistake. You can maybe argue it's tactical to not attack there, because this means if they don't have a fetch or a shock, they can't play Shadow this turn, but I think I'm supposed to be aggressive and pressure them there. Definitely clicked through it. No play from them is, like, kind of okay for us. A lot of their spells that kill Gurmag Angler are, like, Terminate. So, you know, they will get Spell Snare. They could have Dismember to kill the Gurmag Angler. And then the opponent's archetype generally does not play Sweeper effects, so I think I'm definitely going to just, like, jam this other Delver of Secrets this turn. What if they have a K command of their own here? Yep, that's unfortunate. So my opponent is going to 5 here, and then, like, it's worth noting that, like, they'd be at 6 if I hadn't messed up, which means double bolt would kill them. So that means, like, even if they killed both of our things here, we would be able to kill them with another bolt draw. So that small not attacking mistake might cost me this game potentially. Every point of damage counts. This is a delve creature from the opponent, looks like. The classic big fish mirror. This also means, because I missed there, that if the Delver flips, the bolt isn't lethal, which is, again, a big deal. So that 1 point mattering in a variety of ways here. That being said, my Delvers don't flip. All right, exhibit A. Why would my Delvers flip? That's not something that we do around these parts. That being said, like, as far as cards that don't flip my Delver there go, Young Pyromancer is probably at the top of the list, right? Like, it's a card that, like, generates chump blockers, that way we can just die to Temur Battle Rage. What's it? Famous last words? Well, we're in a good spot here, unless they have Temur Battle Rage. No shock there from the Blood Crypt. Likely indicates that they don't have it. So that, like, feels good for us. Delver says, I would love to reveal my options to you. Scale of 1 to dead. Where's this Delver at? Probably pretty close to the dead side of the scale. If I had to venture a guess. I've got a pause here. I think this pause was to, like, consider, do they want to kill the Young Pyromancer or the flipped Delver? That's what it feels like here. If they have a Stubborn Denial, they probably want to kill the Pyromancer just because it's about to make endless blockers, especially with a cantrip on top of my deck. If they push Peasy off a cliff here, really, they're making me discard a card. Well, you know I have Lightning Bolt, so I guess I'll fire that off. So this kill the Delver line here feels like it's them kind of committing to like needing to draw Temur Battle Rage to win the game, because like they're never going to power through this Young Pyromancer. It's too many wides, most likely. So that being said, because I had to fire off the bolt there, we are certainly dead to Temur Battle Rage, because this Death Shadow is now a 9/9. And there's like no way I'm like throwing my zombie fish in front of it. It's just like not something that's about to happen. I wonder if we're going to see them get aggressive here. It's pretty conservative on their part, not attacking. Do I want to play? I'm definitely casting the Young Pyromancer. The question is, do I want to play the land? They've already played 2 Kolaghan's commands, right? Yeah, I'm just going to hold the land as a bluff here, I think. I don't really need the colors, so like the downside of the bluff is like they can command it out of my hand, the upside is like they make worse attacks. So I think it's worth holding something here. Poppy wants a cantrip. Alright. Alright. Again, like, if I hadn't clicked through that combat step, a flip Delver would be lethal here. But I did, so here we are. Alright, now I wanted a cantrip last turn. I really want a cantrip now. So we're actually going to go ahead and play out the Bloodstained Mire here. And the reason for this is I'm going to put a stop on my upkeeps. That way next turn, after I look for my Delver trigger, if there's a card on top of my deck that I'd rather not draw, I can fetch to shuffle it away before my draw step. Kind of get like a pseudo scry out of the Delver trigger plus the fetch land. So he says, I would love to draw Thought Scour, thank you. How dead's this Delver? Scale of 1 to dead, what are we working with here? I'll play the island and scour off of that. This does kind of give my opponent a green light to stub this Thought Scour. Just mono lands. Alright. Alright, how dead is he? I feel like if they had a removal spell, they would have cast it in response to the Thought Scour there. Because, like, not give me the chance to... Okay, or not. Or they have a removal spell. So it's like Snap K command. This seems incredibly loose. I feel like you're not supposed to be greedy with this. You're supposed to, like, kill this Insectile Aberration in response to the Thought Scour. Like, they're getting the card out of my hand, but, like, the card doesn't really matter. To each their own, though, I suppose. And definitely left themselves open for punishment. Like, if I'd have drawn our copy of Dispel, like, the game would have just ended there, obviously. Yay! Lands! The opponent also has a fair share of lands here too, so a little bit of goes around. They've had 2 Kolaghan's Commando, and we've not found any of those in the top half of our deck here. Dr. Dre says, alright, all I want for Christmas is a Snapcaster Mage. Even K-Command's great here, right? Like, if I draw a K-Command, it's like, kill your Snapcaster, pick my Snapcaster up. It's a Delve Threat. Smells like another fish, yep. And I'm holding this Bloodstained Mire here because there's basics I can fetch out if I need to fetch, and I feel like they're supposed to start attacking with this Death Shadow, but they've played the rest of the game super conservatively, so not surprised to see them not attacking just yet. Just like any K-Commander can't trip, it's just like we get to run away with the game so quickly. At least they're in a holding pattern and their hand appears to be bad. I'd like to try and do this to make some friendos. Not surprised to see that not resolve. That being said, just like, if you discard a card, make 2 1/1s is like a card I'm willing to pay 2 mana for on this board, so deal. I guess when I was suggesting they attack, the attack let them dead on board. They're technically dead on board here, right? Am I supposed to jam? What does Tasigur do for me? Can I delve every non... So like if I cast this card, I can get rid of Spell Snare, Delver, Explosives. I guess I'm kind of okay redrawing Explosives though, huh? Because they have 2 shadows. So when you delve with Tasigur, you want to kind of control what cards you're getting back by how you delve. And I guess most of our graveyard is pretty good here. I'm just going to cut all the threats, and I don't want Spell Snare, right? Alright, let's do this to start. Wow, their hand is just like stone cold nothing, huh? We didn't do anything for a while, but they did even less nothing. I'll take it. I don't think this is a Countersquall matchup. I know it like kind of looked okay as that game went long there, but I think I'm happy with how I've boarded. The opponent's deck is like land light-ish, but not like so light that Fulminator Mage is relevant a lot of the time, so just going to go ahead and run it back here. This hand's great. It has turn 2 Tasigur in it. Also, again, like, when you're playing against a deck full of 1-mana discard spells, you don't make your hand better by mulliganing. So, like, discard spells, in addition to, like, the obvious tactical decisions they remove from the game by, like, taking your cards away from you, they also remove your ability to make intelligent mulligans, because you can't mulligan well when your hand's just going to get ripped apart. So you just, like, keep most hands. Opponent start by mulliganing to 5. That bodes well for our hero. Delver... Don't mind if it does. Survey says, I would love a Spell Snare. Thank you for asking. So if I Thought Scour puts 3 cards in my bin, and this puts a 4th, so I can't Thought Scour and Tasigur this turn, so there's no reason to do anything really. So I'm just going to go ahead and pass. My attack here could have put them low enough to put Shadow into play this turn, but like, I have Fatal Push in my hand, so I'm not like super scared of that. Especially when the Shadow like off of here is going to be a 3/3, which means they can't Stubborn Denial my Fatal Push, which is nice. Any removal spell they're going to have for this. Oh, I guess I could have drawn that. So that's like kind of a punish for not playing the Thought Scour on my turn. Would I have cast that last turn though? Probably. Yeah, maybe it was wrong to not fire off the Scour because it's like exactly the one card I would play. Grab a Watery Grave here since I have both Tassifish and a Fatal Push. Might need double block in a turn. So I get to go ahead and attack for 3 here, and it looks like the opponent just kind of fumbled around a little bit here, and we're going to get to run them over. They're kind of having the problem that we had against Burn, right? Where, like, they have, like, stuff. I don't even have removal spells, I guess. And just mulliganed and aren't doing much. It's like, you know, one of those times where Magic the Gathering occurs, and you kind of just play by yourself. To play my fish out here. With Terminate and Fatal Push, like, they can't really do a whole lot here. They need, like, land damnation. Alright, well, we scraped out the very competitive 2-3. Conceded to Dredge, because I don't really have sideboard cards for that. Like I said, if you really wanted to try and beat Dredge with a deck like this, you'd probably need, like, 3 surgical extractions of the sideboard, and even then you're going to have a hard time. Like, that's probably not enough, honestly. I don't really have Graveyard Hate in the sideboard because I think with cards like Magma Spray, this deck's pretty reasonable against something like the Blue-Red Arclight Phoenix deck already, and things like Hollowed One and stuff like that, because we have, like, large blockers, and we have ways that we can exile their thing with the Magma Spray. So I think if you were expecting a lot of specifically Dredge, I would honestly just recommend, like, playing an archetype that's not this. What is it? We lost to Burn in a little bit of magic happened there. I could have potentially been more aggressive in the first game, though, to, like, play around not drawing a third land. That might have been a good decision because we definitely died with a bunch of cards in our hand. And then what was the last one? Oh, Ponza. Yeah, not a whole lot we could do about the Ponza matchup. All right, this is my first of going to be a few YouTube-only videos for today. Thank you for watching, folks. Remember, if you enjoyed it, to hit that like button, ring that bell for notifications when I upload more stuff to the channel, and drop a comment below. I'm going to be uploading, hopefully, a couple more things this weekend as well. So, everybody, thanks for watching. I'll catch all of you all around later. I'll be live, thinking of live stuff, I will be live with Twitch, I believe, tomorrow afternoon. I think I found a place to stream from here in Roanoke. And if not, I will definitely be live on Tuesday on Twitch at the latest. Thanks for hanging out, folks.